Let's cross now to Brussels to speak to correspondent Dave Keating. Dave, tell us more about Metsola.
Well, Metsola has just been announced as the next president of the European Parliament. She won the majority of votes needed to take on that position, and she will start the position right away. So she is a Maltese center-right politician. She's relatively young by the standards of who normally holds this position. She's 43. She entered the European Parliament in 2013. She's been very active on migration issues, and she's quite well respected across both sides of the aisle. She's a lawyer by training. She was the legal counselor for Catherine Ashton, who was the very first EU High Representative for Foreign Affairs. So she's had a long career in Brussels. She's very well known. But over the past month, she became rather notorious, particularly in France and French media, for her anti-abortion stance. She has voted against a number of resolutions in the parliament calling for more access to abortion. Now, that is largely because of the country she comes from, Malta, where abortion is completely illegal. It has one of the strictest abortion regimes in the world, and generally all MEPs from Malta, whether they're from the left or from the right, they abstain or vote against resolutions when they touch on abortion, because abortion is really the third rail of Maltese politics. It is very difficult to be a Maltese politician and not be anti-abortion. So there has been a bit of a caricature portrayed of her over the past month in French media in particular. The reality is she is quite centrist, really. She's quite progressive on a lot of issues, including LGBTQ rights, and she is pretty well liked, and I think that explains why she received a pretty healthy majority of the vote just now in the parliament, including from the center-left Socialists and Democrats group. That group and Metsola's group, the European People's Party, split this ceremonial position, which is something like the Speaker of the House in the UK, between them over the Parliament's 5-year term.
Dave, just how significant is this position?
Yeah, as I mentioned, this is the word president here is a bit of a misnomer. It's more like the Speaker of the House in the UK, in that the person chairs debates, they ceremonially represent the Parliament in the public sphere and vis-a-vis the other institutions, but it doesn't have any political power in and of itself. And that really explains why there wasn't a big furor over this abortion issue, because Metsola's personal politics won't really have any impact on the functioning of the parliament. Now, the president can prioritize certain things for debate, they can stall things, but only to a certain extent. And really, in theory, the president kind of leaves their politics at the door, because their job, and Metsola's job now that she's been newly elected, will be to represent the parliament as an institution. So it will be standing up for the parliament, which is often sidelined in EU politics and EU policy making. The other two institutions, the Council of National Governments and the Commission, which initiates legislation, often have a tendency to overlook and sideline the parliament. And the main job of the parliament president is to just make sure that the parliament is listened to, and that they're on the agenda, that they're in the room, and that they're part of the policy making. So that will be Metsola's main task. Now, she has been known as a fierce pro-European and a big advocate for Malta's membership in the European Union. So she will, I think, take on that role of defending the only directly elected democratic body in the EU very fiercely on the international stage, and most importantly, when it comes to those other two institutions, which are generally more powerful.
Dave Keating, thanks for that. And you've just seen live images there of Roberta Metsola speaking, having been voted in to the position as President of the EU Assembly.